May 2011, and we are starting with Module 1, Fundamentals of Information Technology. Okay, good. Data, information, knowledge are important aspects of a computerized system. Using a suitable example, explain each of the following. So data is raw, fact, and figures. Example, random numbers 12, 13, 19, and 17. Alright, good with that. Alright. Information is processed data. Example, average ages. Example, average age is equal to 15. So any processing, so you could say average age, or you could say sum of, usually any mathematical calculations that you could think of is processing. And if you ever think of Excel, when you get data inside a spreadsheet, you usually process it by using a function or formula. Knowledge is information that is applied to a context or situation. Example, the average age of the class is too low to participate in the competition. Any other application could be, example, the sum of the total amount of sales is less than projected, therefore we can't, the business has to close, or something like that, right? So anywhere that you take the information that you processed and you apply it to some sort of context or situation that results in like an action, that would be knowledge application. Yeah. All right. Next one is distinguish between qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative. All right. Qualitative is based on feelings / opinions, and quantitative quantitative is based on facts or figures. I can say discrete. Yeah, usually that's a staple question that they always ask, and you should be able to handle that. And then you might be able to give a explanation. So sometimes the question will be 2 marks, sometimes it will be 4 marks, and you'll have to just decide how you're going to what example to put. But whenever you give qualitative, it's like taste and smell and touch and how you feel. Quantitative will be, it is 4 meters long, 6 meters wide. Those are discrete or facts, right? Explain which type of data, qualitative or quantitative, most appropriately describes data collected from an interview. An interview is free response. Interview, they usually could just say whatever they want to say. So that's definitely qualitative. Why can't I spell qualitative correctly? Qualitative. Qualitative. Right. Cool. Yep. And questionnaire usually gives you quantitative, but interview usually gives you qualitative. All right, a high school wishes to develop a computerized registration system for its students. With respect to this system, discuss one example of data and one example of information, describing how fully each can be represented in the system. So this requires you to give an example, and when you have to give examples, you have to be able to match it back to the scenario. So it's high school, and they're doing a registration system for their students. So one example of data would be their date of birth, and it will be represented in the format month, day, year, where each piece of data is a number. So we clearly give one example of information, which is date of birth. Good. And then we want to say describing fully how it may be appropriately represented in the system. So we give the format that it should be represented in, and we also said that there should be numbers. So there's a format and then there's a data type. That's the key thing with data. You had anything different or anything that you want to check? Right. But did you see what type of data it is? That will be a number. All right. So you'll get 2 marks because you have to show that it is a number, or else you will end up they might end up being able to write their age as like 17 and spell 17, and that would be a problem for the database. So you have to make sure that you clearly show that it will be represented as a number. Okay. All right. Information. All right. So the information that the system could produce will be, let's say, the average of the student intake, and it will be represented as a number with 2 decimal points because it's an average. So average age, it's clearly going to be represented by a number, and you say how it's going to be formatted with 2 decimal points. So basically we're trying to show how it's going to be formatted, represented. You might even put in a table like how you put a GL, like in a table or in a graph or something. So yeah, so we could put in the first one in to add some more spice to it in a table, and this one could be in a graph, because I'm not too sure when they talk about how it be appropriately represented in the system, if they just want the data type or if they want to know how it's going to be portrayed. So it could be table or graph. So if you have this, just in case they don't give the marks for what you had before, I will be there also. Because there's a 6-mark question, and 6 marks matters a lot. All right, good. Okay. All right, next one is Paul has been contracted by the Ministry of Education in his country to conduct research in order to assess the level of information and communication technology usage in the country. Yay, Paul, good for you. So he is, in our scenario, he is doing research, so he has to get in data and information. And he wants to assess the level of information and communication technology usage in the country. All right, so 3 sources of information that will be appropriate for Paul's research. He is looking for ICT stuff usage in the country. So definitely like newspapers and those sort of things won't work out too well. So we're trying to get the more technical ones. So we could say websites, journals, and online libraries. What else? Yeah, electronic database could be one, yeah. Online libraries and electronic database. Yeah, people would fall into, because you could administer questionnaires to people, to a sample size of the people. So yeah, that would be a appropriate source too. So people, we put in people. All right, for each information source identified in A above, state the information which may be retrieved. All right, so we'll go through piece by piece. People, you may get number of persons with internet access, right? So that's information because it's the number of people. That means you do the sum. Websites will be the number of visitors to the site. The journals journals usually have like scientific research, so it'll be like the social ills that stop people from using ICT. All right. Online libraries will have recent books on internet statistics. Electronic database will have the same thing, papers or research highlighting ICT adoption. Right, basically for each source, you need to show that you understand what type of information is on the source. If you don't understand the type of information that the source has, you'd have a problem. Yes, perfect. That's good. Identify a computer-based tool that may be used to assist in its retrieval. Well, for people with internet access, you might be able to use a OMR because you give a questionnaire, right? So optical mark reader will do that. A computer-based tool to get the stuff from the website, a browser. Tools from a journal to get the information. You probably use a scanner. Online library, you would probably use like a PDF reader software. I'm not too sure what computer-based tool they're talking about, so we just had to think about any computer-based tool, I guess. I can't see any other, way. Electronic database would be Microsoft Access. Yeah, let's live with that. This question a little iffy. For 3 marks, I'm not too sure which computer-based tools that they want to use to retrieve the information. Like normally retrieval of information would be a scanner, OCR, OMR, MICR, and those things. But these information sources here, they're very wide ranging. So can't say. Okay. State 3 characteristics of information sources. Well, we have multiple. There'd be a lot I could state. So we could state, currency, relevance, accuracy, timeliness. I just call in those that come to my head one time. What did I miss? Reliability. And objectivity. Right, so let's see if we could give some kind of explanation. So it's currency. Explain each of the characteristics. All right, so because they say explain, it'll be very easy to just give an example for it. So make sure when you state your explanation that you give an example. That will kind of save you a lot of drama in terms of ambiguity in your answer, because remember, you want your answer to be clear, crystal clear, and there'll be no sort of chance for the examiner not to give you the answer, right? For currency, means the information is up to date and within a time frame that makes it useful. Example, article, just don't give him trouble. Yeah, article on 9/11 from September 2001. 2001 was, yeah, somewhere around that. Right, basically, you give a date that will match the time that it's needed. So you could also give like an article about self-driving cars that was from the last 3 years or last 2 years or something like that. That would be currency. Accuracy, let's do accuracy. Accuracy, information that contains references or facts, figures to back up the points. Example, quoting the stock market price in financial websites. So that would be a good example. And then let's try say reliability. Information that comes from a known reputable source. Example, well, news sources these days kind of rough to use as examples, but CNN.com for international news. No, if you give an explanation, it's good. It's just if you have an example, it's better. So if your explanation is good, you'll get the marks. But if your explanation is weak, but you have a good example, you will still get the marks. That's the point I was trying to keep driving into. You. So if you have the explanation, go ahead. All right, good. The first one, a little shaky, because you use credible inside of reliable, and there is no description that is like, it's not described properly, basically. So that's why, like, if you put an example, it would have brought it into some more clarity. So you'll just lose marks for the first one. Okay. All right. Well, it may vary depending on the information source. How cost ties into that, I'm trying to understand. All right, last one. Telecommunications has been utilized greatly in performing many everyday tasks. The internet is one of the most popular applications used in telecommunications. Defining the term internet, the internet is a network of connected networks that allows information to be transmitted using specific protocols. Yeah. Right, so you must be able to say there's a network of connected networks and transfer of information. Putting in specific protocols, that's just a little cherry on top that I put. But a network of connected networks is the first part, and they allow information to be transmitted within the network. All right. Okay. Explain each of the following telecommunications terms: a transmission medium. This is physical / non-physical space where the data is transferred from one place to another. Example, copper wire. right? So the medium that you use is the place or the space where you transfer the data from place to place. The definition for this is always a little hard to do because there's transmission medium and then there's transmission media. And the transmission media would be twisted pair, coaxial, fiber optic, and whatnot. But the medium is basically the physical or non-physical places, copper wires or radio waves. Yeah. You all understand? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the medium is the electric currents, or the electric pulses, and with fiber optic, the medium will be light. Yeah. All right. All right. Modulation is the conversion of data from analog to digital and vice versa. All right. Example on modem, which is basically it. All right. Then there's bandwidth, which is the amount of usable space is the only word I can think of right now. Space that data can be sent through in a transmission medium. I kind of butchered that answer, but the point is the amount of usable space that I have that you could transmit in a particular medium. So like copper's bandwidth is smaller than fiber optics bandwidth because the amount of data that you could push through copper is way less than fiber optic because of the restrictions of the medium itself. But once you have usable space that could be sent, that's the key mark there, because you have to show that it's a confined space that sends data or allows data to be sent. All right, so we go. Nice. All right, discuss the impact of the internet on each of the following on education. Education, online learning allows teachers and students to communicate and have classes virtually. Yeah, that one was dead easy. Like, you can't really get that wrong. Health doctors can diagnose patients. Anyways. Yeah, doctors can diagnose patients long distance. Long distance is a good word. Come on, eraser. remotely. Yeah, the doctors could diagnose patients remotely by sending files over the internet. All right, good. So, right, and then human resource management. Well, I don't know how much you know about HR. Do you know about HR? Sometimes they expect students to know a whole set of things, and it'd be like, okay, right, good. So basically, their job is to keep track of the employees, keep track of their progress, their contract, and all those different things. So, and hire people. So now you could have virtual interviews with people, and those virtual interviews could be carried out, and you can get hired for jobs without having to physically be there for the interview. So virtual interviews can allow companies to interview and hire prospective employees. Nice. Alright, with the aid of a label diagram, explain the concept of automated information processing. Alright, basically, you must have an input, a process, and an output, and storage, right? But feedback has to go back to the input. If you do have feedback, I don't think they'll take away marks, so that should be okay. But they say with the aid of a diagram. So for the diagram, you'll get 3 marks for having input, process, output, and storage. And then you basically want to say data goes in, it is processed, and then output is given. This will be 1 mark each. So data goes in, it's processed, and then output is given. Processed / stored. Yeah, for that. Yeah. And output is given. Alright, cool. So that's it there for the module. Check up your marks and let me know how we're going.